Hi, this is Suzanne in Ohio. I have a small project share for you today. These are some journal cards that I've been working on, and I think they've turned out so cute, which is quite the happy accident. Just an idea I picked up on some image on Pinterest. I don't even remember. Of course, when you do that, yours turn out nothing like the ones you saw, but it is a nice jump off point. So here's how I made these. I'll show them all to you in a second. But what I started out with was an image of a vintage journal ledger pages. Now, I had a whole ledger book from one of my customers, and I took it apart by snipping sewing and taking it apart page by page. So some of the pages had a lot of information on them, which is quite interesting, and others didn't have very much at all. But this was from back in the 60s, early 70s. They had a farm. She kept a ledger of absolutely everything she spent every penny on during those years. Quite interesting. So I sized this down to 4 to a sheet. So this is a quarter of a page that you're looking at. And then I ran them through the printer again on the back side and copied off some blank pages so that there's automatic journal lines on there. So that's what I started out with, some sort of image. Also, I used a vintage envelope, which you'll see. Here's one of them. I had a nice vintage envelope, 1947, and it had a lot of blank space on it, so I started with that one as well. So I took the paper piece, and let me show you what I got ready beside me, because you know this is a messy process when you're doing all this. I literally have a tote bag full of fabric snippets and every color that you can think of. Now, most of my fabric snippets are aged. They're very vintage, a lot of calicos mixed in there, which that's kind of okay. That's okay with me. And then I have also ready at my disposal a container full of prints and cutouts, things that I've printed off and then cut them out. And this is my bin of all the small ones. I have another bin of larger ones that could be pockets. But these are all inserts, embellishments, whatever you want to use them for. And a lot of these things, these prints, are prints of vintage textiles and my own artwork and free downloads from the internet or Pinterest or whatever the case might be. So I have plenty of small items to choose from. Now that's the way I go about it. So I just start by tearing snippets and gluing them on. I have my image in mind, so I pick some colors that kind of coordinate. I'll bring it down just a little bit closer so that you can see all these things a little bit closer up and see if this autofocus will work. So it's just simply a piece of paper. It looks like an envelope. You turn it over and there's your journaling lines already on there. And then fabric snippets and a paper image. And for those of you that might not know, I use Fabri-Tac, but this is the best non-liquid, non-moisture adhesive there is. Sometimes I use it regardless of whether I'm using it with fabric or not. It is a little pricey, but a bottle of this will last me a month, and I feel like I'm well worth $12 or $14 or whatever it costs. So let me just go through these and see if you can get any ideas for yourself. Let me stack these up and get them backwards so that too much on the screen kind of confuses the image. So here's a little one in blue with this little image of a textile. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know I collect old textiles of all kinds. I find most of them at my thrift store, and this was a little cross stitch I found at my thrift store. So you scan it, make an image or file image, and then you can print it out any size you want. Now, I won't bore you with telling you about every single little thing on every one, But this image that you're seeing here, see if I can hold it still enough, is an image of, okay, let's give it something to focus with. There you go. Still hard to see. It was a very large paper collage that I had done with the theme of watermelons and crow, and for summer. So I scanned it and shrunk it down so it's almost the size of a large postage stamp. The watermelons are also mine, my textiles, and I scan them and then print them off and then cut them out, fussy cut, and then they make nice little additions to anything that I'm working with. Okay, this one, Blue Jay, and I had, just by chance, painted some bird feathers, and I had a blue jay feather that I painted, and then, and that was painted on fabric, but then I cut it out and printed it on paper and then cut it out. Again, a cross stitch or a needlepoint, I think, that I found at the thrift store. And this bird was also part of that collection. There was 3 birds in that collection. And this is a rufous-sided towhee, in case anybody wants to know. And so look how cute these little journaling things are. You can actually write on the front of them too, right on top of that printing, because it's not that dark. And if you wanted to, whatever image you're using, you could print it off 1 or 2 shades lighter. Your printer will give you that option, I'm sure, or your print program. And this little farm scene is a piece of fabric. And I just love that fabric. It's so nostalgic to me because I grew up in the country, and awfully cute. Let's see. I don't know why it won't totally come into focus. Excuse me just for a second till I figure this out. There you go. Sometimes it just has to have something else to focus on. So, and that was a print of a cross stitch that I found at the thrift store. So here you have the whole thing total. Makes a cute little vignette. This one's simple, but the red was so striking, I just left it with not much on it. And this is a picture of one of my little textiles. This was a quilt square block. I won a contest that year at my quilt group for, I think the challenge was houses. So I did 3 different houses and submitted it. That one was second place. Okay, so there you can see the ledger page is actually on the back this time, and the larger print on the front. This was a raw edge applique that I had done with embroidery on the front of it. Never got around to finishing it, but it made a nice image all by itself. And these mushrooms are really nice because they're just so striking. The color is just so magnificent in some of that batik that I had used. So I find myself using these a lot. I have them, I think over 100. I have sold some sets on my Etsy site, which you can download images of lots of my things from my Etsy site. If there's anything that really interests you, just leave me a comment and I'll send you a link exactly where it is. And why won't that darn thing focus? Cameras are so funny, aren't they? So here's another one. This is actually a mushroom, but it kind of gives the idea of a tree. Now, after I'd done several of these, I got smarter and I left some of these images as text spots. So that one is. This little thing here is almost true to life size. I made several little brooches using an old embroidery textile, and then I drew the honeybee and the ladybug on it and the words, superimposed it on myself. So that made a nice collage. This is a picture of a journal card collage that I made. The originals are way bigger than a postcard. By the way, just to show you, don't throw anything away. Um, this was a pair of silky curtains that somebody gave me, and it had 4 different bird images on it. And I thought, I just didn't want the curtains as the curtains, but I started cutting out the birds and then adding embellishments, and they turned out real nice. This is a cute one. It has a tuck spot. The watermelon is a tuck spot, and the watermelon and the watermelon pieces are my original textiles, pictures of them. That's a given. Another original textile collage, and then I put it on as a tuck spot. Same thing here. I'm going to quit telling you what they are. If you have any questions, you can just ask me. Chances are they're part of my original art. And I think this is funny. Glasses repair. I happen to know her husband's name was John, so she put John Glasses and Frame for $16.23. And wow, that really went out of focus now, didn't it? There we go. And her frames were $10.09. That's probably the tax on a good pair of glasses today. Okay, something else that I found at the thrift store, this original cross stitch, and I've scanned it. Oh, this is my little quilt square that won first prize for the quilt square contest. And the theme was houses, so I put a little house, but I also put a bird house. That qualifies as a house. And some little bleeding hearts there in the foreground. It's not a very good picture of that quilt square because I wasn't smart enough to scan it before I turned it in, but it's a picture of a picture. And some Chinese lanterns, matching snippets. My sister did this cross stitch for me because I am working on honeybee journals, and this was in one of the books she had. Very cute. Has a honeybee already on it. This is a simple one, but real light and delicate. Whoops. And there's a picture of a textile that I got. I got it at the thrift store, and it was very unusual. It was in a frame. In a picture frame, and I had to take it apart. Okay. There we go. And it had 3 parts to it, so that's the center part. The colors are brilliant and beautiful. Another cross stitch from the thrift store. I hope these colors are coming out true to life because they really are pretty. There's another one of those birds off of that curtain panel. And I, how should I say, collaged it together until I got an image that I liked. And I've run off several journaling cards with that image on it. Here's a little fabric bird I made a long time ago. It had sold on Etsy, but I still had a nice image of it in my files, so I put it on here. And I'm not sure, but let's see. I was thinking maybe I have the same fabric in the collage as I do right here on the card. Not sure. I think my camera's tired. Might be lazy. Picture of a sunflower textile. A print off the internet. Vintage lady on a hand fan. Hard to say. And there's that cross stitch. The word love. It was beautifully done. In real life, it's about 4 by 8 inches. Very beautiful. Beautifully done. This was a Cruel textile that I found at the thrift. Beautiful copper watering can and a butterfly on the end of it. So that made something nice for summer. Trying to stay in the summer theme right now till I get this journal complete. This was a fabric collage that I did out of what I thought was the ugliest, worst embroidery. It had great big red flowers on it and great big black swans, and it was really, I've apologized before in another video to the person who's probably gone on to glory that did this, but that's the worst embroidery I've ever seen, but it's just so charming for its own reasons, and it worked well in a collage. It really gave it a pop. When I started cutting it up, my sister took a deep breath and I said, well, what are you going to do with something that's that bad? So here's another one of those little picture of a brooch that I had made, and I did leave this one as a tuck spot. Okay, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed all these and give you some ideas. So simple and goes so fast. Once you have a pile of snippets beside you and a pile of images. Now, most of you probably have die cuts. I don't have any of those, so I have to use what I have. And I tend to make more because I wouldn't know where to start if I'd go out to buy something. So, but I think I have enough images to get something interesting and make it cute. And if I don't have quite what I want, I get online and try to find something. All right, thanks again for watching. Thanks for all the YouTubers who share. God bless you and have a wonderful day.